Welcome to Tales from the Trails, a podcast dedicated to uncovering the rich tapestry of human experiences. Each episode, we delve into the personal adventures of individuals from diverse backgrounds, exploring their defining moments, challenges, passions, life purposes, and reflections. I am your host, Brian Facciandini. I'm excited for today. Along the trails, I recently met Laura and her husband, Randy. We chat about our local communities and differences between Denver and their home city of Chicago. Then our conversation happened to lead into Laura's work, and I immediately was drawn to her adventures in the nonprofit space and her organization's mission. Laura, it's so great to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cheers. So let me give you a brief introduction about Laura. Laura Zumdahl is the president and CEO of New Moms, a social impact organization focused on supporting young moms as they achieve economic mobility and create strong families. She also serves as CEO of New Moms' social enterprise, Bright Endeavors, a soy candle company that provides paid transitional jobs to young women in New Moms' job training program. Laura's career has been focused on growing and developing effective nonprofit organizations. She's served as in a variety of leadership roles in the nonprofit sector in capacity building, legal aid, higher education, and child welfare. She serves as a board member for Forefront and as an appointed commissioner for the state of Illinois' Youth Budget Commission, and she is a member of the Economic Club of Chicago. Laura earned her BA in sociology from Trinity Christian College, master's in social work from the University of Chicago, and a PhD in leadership from Cardinal Stritch University. She's also a licensed social worker in the state of Illinois. Wow, quite an impressive resume that you've built. You must be proud of your career trajectory and accomplishments.
Oh, thanks.
So great. Let's dive in and learn about your path and adventures in nonprofit leadership. Can you share what drew you toward helping communities and supporting people in need?
This has been my whole career. Interestingly, though, I didn't know this was a career path when I started. Now I think there is a career trajectory. Folks can come out of college and actually get degrees in nonprofit management or leadership, and I did not know that was even a thing when I graduated from college. When I was in college, I was interested in this kind of work. People talk about like, oh, I like helping professions or they like helping people. And I thought, well, yeah, I like that. But I was also drawn to business and I didn't know exactly what that was. And I was like, is there a way to combine these things somehow? And I remember talking to my college advisor about that and being like, I don't know. I really like spreadsheets and I really like that kind of administrative things. And is there a way to do this? And nobody really quite knew what to tell me. And so I was kind of trying to figure it out. I didn't realize that even there was like a nonprofit or social impact sector of work out there, the kinds of work that I do now and that organizations, the charitable sector or charitable organizations, social sector, whatever you want to call it, exists. These are organizations that actually have to run. Somebody has to, do this work, lead them. I didn't have any idea that was a thing, that those were jobs that people have. I think a lot of people don't even realize that, right?
Right.
And so I kind of fell into it along the way. But it was really a combination of figuring out the type of work, skills that I had, the things I thought I was good at, with like, I guess the desires in my heart, the things that I felt like there were things in the world that I didn't think were right or just or good, and that I wanted to be part of changing, things I was passionate about, and figuring out where that intersection was. And then trying to pursue that in some way. And then figuring out, like, could I somehow make a living at that? Could I support myself in some way? And that was what I tried to figure out from the very beginning. And I was fortunate enough to be able to find my way into the nonprofit sector or social sector, whatever you want to call it, and because it goes by lots of names. But I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And so right after college, really have always worked in the sector my whole career. And so I've worked in a variety of organizations, but they've all had social missions about things that I've cared about. missions that I care about. And so I've always been fortunate that I've been able to work hard for something that I believe is in service of a better good in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really amazing. And so, with your the education in particular, did you know that from the onset, or did you take schooling back to back to back, or did you know from the onset maybe your path as you got into the real world post uh, obtaining your undergrad? That the next steps would be to take these different, to get your master's, to get your PhD, or was it along your path that the education, ideas of further education came to mind?
Yeah, I did go right from undergrad to get my master's degree, in a large part because I got an undergrad degree in sociology, which was deeply intellectually stimulating and fulfilling, not as helpful in the job market probably, and I knew that.
Yeah.
And I knew that I probably was going to need to go get a master's degree. I finished college early, partly because I couldn't afford to do that and go to grad school at the same time. I was, helping put myself through college largely, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to afford this all." And so I sped up my undergrad degree and finished early so I could go right to grad school and to get my master's degree. And I knew that was going to be necessary to get a job and the type of work that I was kind of finding my way into at that point. And so that was good. And then I took a break, and then I ended up going back to school later to get a PhD while I was working at the same time, and did that. And that was also helpful. I don't know that it wasn't necessarily necessary for my job at that point, but it was deeply satisfying for my own intellectual curiosity, and I think it helped shape my thinking as a leader in lots of ways, and hopefully impact my work in lots of ways too. But that was a little bit later on. But yeah, I did go right away, and I think it's tricky. There's a lot of real world experience that we get in our jobs that can make up for education in some cases, right?
Yeah.
We live in a world now where you don't always have to have a formal degree in a lot of ways, because experience can bring a lot of that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I gained a lot from education. I mean, education taught me how to be a really good critical thinker. It taught me how to, understand history and understand some of the theories and perspectives of things that I wouldn't have gotten just from experience also. And so I needed that education at the same time. So it was really a marrying, I think, of both education and experience that I needed to help make me into the person and leader that I am today. So I'm a proponent of education, and I can appreciate that you need some experience right along with it in order to be able to, develop the skills that you need.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I fully agree with you. And I think there's some people out there that more so I see it from entrepreneurs who have made it big. And I think it's a smaller percentage that say you don't need to go to school. And for the points that you just referenced, I think higher education is very valuable along with the practical experience. And like you said, mirroring the two probably makes you most effective. Were there any early mentors or experiences that set you on this course?
Oh, so many. I mean, I've been fortunate to be in a field where when you're working in a sector and a work where I think people are drawn to it because of injustice, or they want to do good in the world, that tends to attract people who have good hearts and want to see that happen. And so I don't know that it's disproportionately filled with people who are willing to be mentors more than others, but I think there might be. My working theory there would be maybe there are. So I've been fortunate to have lots of good mentors and people who've really leaned in. And, I've learned a lot from leaders that I've worked with, and bosses that I've had, and folks that have, leaned in and given me great experiences along the way. And so there's a lot of things I do as a leader now because I watched other people do them. And I thought, oh, that's where I learned. I learned from watching them model it. I learned from getting experiences early on. And, I took my first CEO job, full-time CEO job, when I was in my early 30s. And I got that in part because I'd had really great experiences before then. I'd been an interim CEO before that. In my 20s, I had these experiences where people trusted me. They gave me the opportunity to prove myself and to, you know, they test me out a little bit and see that I could do it, um, and mentor me and kind of guide me along the way. And I think, that made a huge difference. And so I think being in a sector that tends to have some goodwill in it,
Yeah.
for people and really wants to see people develop, I think makes a big difference. There's a perspective, and I feel it in my own organization now, but I think in other organizations too, it's like we want people to develop, we want them to do well. This isn't a competitive, like, dog eat dog world, because it's like we're here for the good of the world. And so, not that we don't want excellence, we absolutely want that. And so we want people to rise to that. And also we want you to develop and flourish as a whole person too. And so there tends to be a little bit more of a sense of leaning in, I think, to that goodwill that goes along with that. And in this sector as a whole. And so people work together a little bit better, I think, because of that.
Nice. That's great to hear. If I'm someone who's graduating high school or entering college and want to go this path, what advice would you share with them, what to consider? And
Yeah, I think, there's so many interesting opportunities out there that, as I said at the beginning, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what was even out there in terms of jobs. And so if you have passions and things you care about, you don't even know the types of jobs that are out there connected to that. The only way to get there is to start exploring and talking to people and start, getting out there. And so, the information interviews, the networking, that is real for everybody. And I think people are really willing to do it, especially in the sector, because they realize, hey, that's how they got there, but also that we need people who are committed to this work and who are doing this work. And so we want to raise up future generations of people and talent that are in this work. And so
yeah, for
I
sure.
do informational interviews. Lots of other people do all the time. We're always looking for talent, great talent on our teams where, folks are trying to develop ambassadors around their causes all the time. And so there's this natural propensity to try to find community and champions of our work. And so I think people have to look outside for that. And so there's opportunities to get engaged in causes and to learn about things in ways that you don't have necessarily, like in a for-profit world. Like, for-profit companies aren't saying, hey, come join our advisory board to come learn about our, cell phone or something, right? Like,
Right.
or our newest technology. Whereas, like, a nonprofit organization is like, hey, you care about childhood hunger, you can come be a champion of this cause and we'll tell you all about it and we'll help you. You can be our ambassador. And so there's lots of cool ways to get engaged in this cause, right?
Right.
You can become an expert, you can get to know the leaders, you can get to know all, you can be an insider on this. So there's ways to get connected with organizations and causes that you care about that you never would have opportunity to do in a different setting, which is a total flip, right? It's a totally different kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I say that to people who are like thinking about that. I'm like, well, you've got a chance to explore and find out. Go talk to people, call them up, search them out, find out from organizations, get involved. You can get the information you want. People will probably respond to you and be, interested in you. They're busy, so don't waste their time, but
Yeah.
people have, they also want people to be engaged. So there's chances for you.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. That's great advice. And so, diving into New Moms a bit, how did you first
Yeah.
get involved with New Moms and what drew you to its mission?
Yeah. So I have been the president and CEO at New Moms for almost 12 years. We're coming up on my 12th anniversary. And New Moms has been a long-time human service organization in Chicago here. We're about 42 years old, have long time worked with young moms and their kids in the community in Chicago and the suburbs here. And I knew of it as an organization. I had worked in the Chicago community for my whole career. So I'd been here a long time and worked at other community service organizations. And so I knew of it, but it was a little small. It was quite a bit smaller when I first came. And the CEO at the time was retiring. And so they were looking for a new CEO. And I got contacted about the job. And I thought, oh, well, I don't know. I was kind of getting itchy for my next challenge or adventure. And I thought,
Sure.
I'm kind of interested in that, New Mom's motto was really appealing to me. We work with young families, and contrary to the way a lot of organizations work, which is they provide like maybe one service to a lot of populations. They might do housing for families and individuals and older adults and veterans. New Moms has one population and provides a lot of services. So we have housing and job training and parenting support and prenatal education and mental health. And so we're kind of the opposite. And I thought that was a really interesting holistic model. And I really liked that. And we have an employment social enterprise business called Bright and Diverse that you mentioned, our candle company. And I was really interested in the employment social enterprise model too. And so I was interested in both of those things. I thought that was really interesting, and it was an organization that really needed some refinement and some growth as well. And there's certainly a lot of need in Chicago, and it was a mission around young moms, young women, and girls and kids that was close to my heart. And I thought, yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me, and is something I can really get behind. And so it was a really good fit, and I did not expect to be here for a dozen years, but it has been just a wonderful place to be with tremendous people, and has been just the greatest joy of my career to get to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you stuck it out, and it sounds like a fantastic organization. And so, being that you haven't left, what keeps you motivated in serving young mothers and families each day?
Yeah, it is. We work with young moms who are experiencing the impacts of poverty and homelessness. So they have the greatest challenges. And being a parent is hard, no matter what your income is, no matter who you are, it's hard. And it's a lot harder if you are by yourself, if you don't have social supports, if you don't have income, or much of it. And that's even more difficult. And so we get the privilege of getting to walk alongside those young moms and really help provide both that community of support and also help them have the opportunities to go through those important periods of adolescence and we serve young moms age 24 and under, so I should kind of qualify that, but help them as they're working through those really powerful firsts in their life. So first apartments, first jobs, first graduations, graduating from school, getting out on their own, all of those things. And it's a really important moment for them as young moms who have their whole lives ahead of them, and for their children. And so there's this generational impact there that is really powerful and important. And what motivates me is both that generational impact, but also this deep knowledge that I have learned through this work that in so many ways that we have lots of tangible outcomes to our work, like how many, we have jobs and they move into homes and like all the really tangible outcomes and metrics about our work, right? But the other intangible thing is the confidence that young moms gain. And that is so powerful to me that they can, when I talk to young moms, they say, but I'm so confident now. Like, I didn't know I could do this before, and now I can. I didn't know if I could handle this, but now I can. I didn't know if I could do this job. I didn't think I could. And now I know I can, because no one's ever told them they could. No one ever looked them in the eye and said, you've got this. And now they see people around them. They feel loved. They feel like people are saying, you've got this. And you're proving it. Look, you're proving it. You're doing it. And they're like, yeah, I know I'm a good mom now. I know I'm doing this. I know I can do this job and I can parent. I know I can do this. They are gaining that. And that is the game changer for them and their lives. And that we all need that in our lives. And to me, that is the thing that is just, it's the secret sauce. It's the magic that happens. We all need that in our lives. And it's the thing that keeps me really motivated, that our team comes around, our model works that way, that it all comes together to provide them with that.
That's beautiful. And for those that can't see, we're recording this obviously on audio, but Laura and I are facing each other, and just being able to see the passion from your voice and expression from your face, it's quite moving, most definitely, in how you're able to touch the mothers in the community and their children. It is moving. It's special, and Can you share a story that highlights a real life impact on a mother or family?
Yeah, we had a mom recently that came in, and she came probably two years ago or so, because we often work with families for more than a year. We like to work with them for longer than that because it takes a long time. If you're a young mom, it takes a while. This is not no big things in life get fixed in like 12 weeks, right? Like, let's be real about that. Like, nothing in any of our lives get fixed in 12 weeks. So we have to be honest about that. And I think so we want to work with families for the period of time while they're going to school, while they're working on jobs and saving money and all those things. And so we had a young mom who came in about 2 years ago, and she came in for a doula. We have doulas who are birth advocates and support, do prenatal education and stuff. And so she came in while she was pregnant, and she had a doula that supported her. And she had a son who had some special needs. And
Yeah.
so that was a big challenge. She ended up having to learn how she was going to care for him and how to navigate that. So that's hard for anyone. And then you've got a young mom who's navigating that at the same time, which would feel overwhelming to anyone. And she took that on. He requires constant medical care, and she took that on with such zeal. And then she went back to school and is pursuing her nursing degree now. And so she's studying to do that. And our team has walked beside her. She had a doula. She's got a home visitor that meets with her weekly and works with her and her son. And, she's grown in such confidence, and she has such resilience and strength, and she has just come through that in such remarkable ways. And I don't know what the ending of that story would have been if she wouldn't have had our team, but what I do know now is that we've got a strong mom who's able to care for her son, her son's getting great care. She's on this path. She's close to finishing her degree. She's going to be a nurse. She's got this financial pathway ahead of her to take care of herself and her son, and she feels confident, right? And she feels strong, and she's got the tools and the supports that she needs. She's met other young moms through our support groups. She's got this whole group around her. And I think, like, what a different story that would have been if she would not have had not just the programs, but also the people and the love and that support around her, right? And
Yeah.
so, those are the kinds of things, the very tangible and intangible ways that this all comes together for a family.
Yeah. That's a great story. And for in this case where the child required some special attention, was your organization set up like that, or do you guys adjust based on the needs of the mothers and children?
Yeah, we adjust. Yeah, we do. We adjust because we don't provide direct medical care, but we work with partners. And so our team was able to adjust and help her get what she needed for him and for herself. And so we do provide mental health care and behavioral health care. And so we do have teams of therapists that we can work with moms and kids, but so she's able to take advantage of that. But for his special needs, able to help her get the treatments and supports that they need, and help her find the right providers and get set up and that sort of thing. And so it's also just having those resources and people that can act as kind of brokers and helpful referrals and navigators of those things, which can be really overwhelming for anybody
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
healthcare system, right? But then to help track down the right things and help you, navigate those systems, which can be tricky. So we've got a network of providers and people we can work with too.
So, tying in, you also run Bright Endeavors, which is a business side of it and job skills that the women are able to learn. Can you share more on what Bright Endeavors actually is and how it integrates with new moms?
Yeah. So New Moms is this, bigger organization that provides all of these supports and different programs for families. And then Bright Endeavors is a piece of that. It's one of our businesses that we operate. It's what we call an employment social enterprise. So it's a business that produces candles. I got one sitting here on my desk. Big, really
Nice.
great candles. We sell them across the country, and so we're a candle manufacturer. We also do reed diffusers. We've got a new line of incense coming out soon. All kinds of like I'm supposed to really say home fragrance a manufacturer, I think now that's what they tell me I should say, but really soy candles are our main thing.
Yeah.
But we have done this for 15 years, and we sell these candles and products, but we manufacture them and have this whole business because we want to provide transitional jobs to the young moms who are in our job training program. And that is the whole goal. We have done job training since the late 90s, and that's great. But here's the deal: you can have a job or talk about having a job, like in a classroom setting, and say like, okay, you need a job. You're here because you want to learn about getting a job. You've had trouble getting a job, but it is a whole different thing to talk about having a job than it is to actually have one. And so what we can do in this business is actually give them the opportunity to practice those job skills in a real employment setting, right? So we hire
Hmm.
close to 100 young moms a year in a job at our business there. They are there for 16 weeks and they're paid. They're employees. It's a job like any other job that they would have. It's something for their resume. They're getting paid. It's real experience, and they get a chance to work and also kind of work the kinks out, right? Like if something
Yeah.
goes wrong, they're not getting fired, but they do get to have a chance to have a coaching conversation, right? Like, so it's a supportive work experience. They've got
Yeah.
coaches that are kind of overseeing this as well too. And it's still a workplace. They're punching in and out. They're doing all the things. There's a pre-shift meeting, a post-shift meeting. There's all the experiences that go along with that. But they're also getting a chance to like work on getting along with colleagues and a boss and all that kind of thing. And they're learning some transferable skills too. So it's a light manufacturing environment. And we have teams that are working in pouring and finishing and quality control and shipping and logistics. So there's different departments. We do wholesale sales, we do retail sales through our website, we do custom orders, we ship across the country. So there's a lot going on at any given time, but there's skills that are happening there are helpful to them. From there, they are moving into different career paths. We have different career pathways where they're getting certifications and pathways and things like healthcare, or things like that. And so they might go on to be in a healthcare pathway, for example, they might go on to be get a pharmacy technician certification and then move on to other things from there. But they're getting placed from there into permanent employment, and now they've had some experience and they've got some skills that they can use. And so it's really a powerful experience for them because they get a chance to test out those skills and be like, oh, now I've worked in a real workplace. Because if you've never done that, you have nothing to compare it to in your mind. So it's really powerful. And we have learned that having that experience allows people to do a lot better in permanent jobs. So,
Yeah.
nationally, job programs like this, job training programs, have about a 30, the 1 year job retention rate is kind of the national average, like the gold standard of like how long once they leave a jobs training program and get placed a year later, how many people are still employed in a job, right?
Right.
So for youth this age, it's like 34% nationally are still employed a year later. So last year, our job retention rate was 60%. So
Wow.
we are almost
Congrats.
double that. And I think a big piece of that is because folks are getting a chance to practice that, right?
Yeah.
And they're getting a chance to do that. And we work so hard on that. So we really believe in that model. And then what happens, of course, is we sell those products and the revenue from that we can pump that right back into the program, right? To help
Yeah.
support the business and support the program. So that's that social enterprise model there,
Yeah.
which is important. It's a really important piece of the sustainability of it.
Yeah, a few questions on that, and I can only imagine like the impact that it has on the people going through the program. What a fantastic idea, and along with doing it with their peers that they're going through the program with and working alongside of, it seems like a natural support group. How many of these? How many women are involved with the New Moms program? You mentioned 100. You hire 100 women in the Bride Endeavors. How many women go through your program? On if it's you monitor it on an annual basis, and then how long are they in the Bride Endeavors program before they take off into another
Yeah.
role or path?
So Bright Endeavors is it's a 16 week to about 4 months that they're there. That's a four month program. New moms as a whole, we serve close to about 400 young moms a year. So,
Wow.
and we work with families for a couple years on average. So, last year we served over 800 young moms and kids total. So, what makes a difference in people's lives is if they're able to kind of get help over a longer period of time. So somebody might come because they wanted to be in the job training program. That was what they came in for. They're in that, but then they also end up getting some counseling from one of our therapists also, right? And they're there for a year that they're getting counseling. And so they might stay connected through services or in a support group for a longer period of time. So it might be 2 years that they're with us. They might be living in we have a couple buildings of housing. Maybe they're experiencing homelessness and they live in one of our buildings, and then they go through the job training program while they live there. And then they also have a therapist also, and they do support groups. They might be in a whole bunch of things, and that's
Yeah.
great. That's what we want. We want people in as many supports as they need, but it's really kind of like a menu of services. So not everyone has the exact same experience.
Yeah.
And so everyone's time frame kind of varies a little bit, but the average time length is about 2.5 years or so that they're engaged with us. And so they can kind of come in from different places depending on what they need, and then take advantage of whatever that is and exit along the way too. So it's kind of like a menu in that way.
Yeah. It seems like you're reaching a lot of people. Is this, out of curiosity for Chicago, is this a majority of the population of young
Mm,
mothers or a
it's a great
sliver?
question. Yeah, it's a great question. So this is an interesting population in that young moms, so age 24 and under. It's a really hard population to get an exact number on because you don't like register somewhere if you're a young mom.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's kind of tricky, actually. We have some estimates through like the public school system and things like that, but in this age group, so we get a little bit of a idea from the census every 10 years, whatever. But there's thousands of young moms in Chicago at any given time,
Yeah.
and the number that are experiencing poverty is also like you're slicing it even further, so
Mm.
it's harder to get. But the number that either are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness is in the thousands.
Wow. Wow.
At any time. So we are only touching
Yeah.
a small piece of the need in Chicago, and certainly the need for housing is much higher than what we can fill, because Chicago has a higher cost of living,
Yeah.
similar to Denver where you are, and
Hmm.
it's housing affordability is a key issue here, and so it's really challenging. So if you don't have some sort of support in your housing, it's really hard to be able to afford a market rate apartment or something. And so, especially if you're only making minimum wage, it's
Right.
almost impossible for a family to be able to do that. And so, that is really challenging. And we see a lot of families just really struggling with that. Also, young people, if they've had to leave school because of having a child, or if they get kicked out of their family because of having a child,
Mm.
we see that being often a reason for homelessness. About 40% of homeless youth in this age are single young parents.
Wow.
So of the homeless youth population in the country, they're single parents. Most of those are young women or young moms. And so this is a key big piece of youth homelessness in the country is young moms. And so we're unique as an organization in our like niche, what we focus on, but we're actually really targeting a big piece of youth homelessness in the country.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing work. And is it a goal to continue to try to support all of them? Is that?
Yeah, we've grown a lot in the last few years and serve a lot more families now than we used to. But there's a lot more to serve, right? And so yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love to be able to keep growing, to be able to serve more families here in Chicago. And we really would love to be able to help other organizations serve families in other cities. It does not need to all be under the New Moms name. We do not feel like we need to take the credit for it all. Our goal is impact, and that means it can be other places. Our model works really well. It's our coaching model that we use. It's built on the brain science, and it's really works really well. And so we do a lot of training with other organizations across the country that serve young moms, also serve homeless individuals or job training programs. And so we do a lot of training with other organizations just on how to do that. And we want them to just go do it then, because they know their communities better than we do. And
Yeah.
that's, our goal is impact. It's not about us. And so that's what we really care about.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And we can continue to share what you're doing across our communities. I just imagine how much our country itself would be a better place. And going back to the social enterprise, and something that caught me is I work with or have worked with or volunteered with a number of nonprofits, and I haven't quite seen this model where you also have a business that's supporting the nonprofit and the women. And I think it's fantastic. And for me, it's like if every nonprofit could build this in, if their model allowed for it, how fantastic that would be. And could you share a bit more and how your model is working, and I guess if what it's meant for new moms, and
Yeah.
how other organizations could mirror it, or why they don't have
Yeah.
it today?
Yeah, it is a really powerful model. And we are part of a coalition here in Illinois of other employment social enterprises like this too. There's others around the country.
Yeah,
There's some really wonderful businesses like this that do use this employment social enterprise model to do job training, especially.
yeah,
Social enterprises is a term that a lot of organizations can use, right? Like even like, Warby Parker can say, oh, we're a social enterprise, because it's like, if you buy a pair of glasses, we'll give a pair or whatever. So a
mm,
lot of people can use that nomenclature, but the employment social enterprise term is really meant to be those businesses that exist because they want to do job training as part of them. And that's why the business is there. And there's some really powerful business models like that out there. So like in Denver, for example, there's a great one called Women's Being Project, which is really great. They make all these really great grocery items. And they have a really great facility there in Denver. They just built a new one not too long ago. They have a storefront. You can buy things there. And they sell their products in grocery stores and Walmart and all kinds of places. And they've scaled and done great things. And so you can do products like that, or candles like ours, or you can have services. There's another great one here in Chicago, a business called Clean Slate. They do street beautification and like street cleaning and that kind of thing. That cities are going to give those contracts to some company to do that work. It is great to give that to this organization, right? They're doing job training. And
yeah,
so it's fantastic. They have over, I think they do like $10 million a year revenue from those contracts. But importantly, they're training hundreds of people a year in jobs while they're doing that.
yeah,
So there's tons of different models, services, or programs. I think it's great for organizations that want to do job training and have a good business model for it. It also can be challenging if you don't have the right structure or the right competencies on your team to do it, right? Like, so
yeah,
we've had challenges over the years where there's been moments where we're like, do we have the right skill set to do the business too at the same time? Because, I've got an organization full of social workers and folks, therapists and folks who do the programs. And then I also have to have a team who knows how to like do candle development and sales and wholesales and,
yeah,
marketing and all this other stuff, which is
right,
very different than the other
right,
thing. So I can't have, a therapist can't also market candles. That's a different skill set, right? So where organizations can get into trouble is when they're like, oh, we can just do this business too. It won't be that hard. And they suddenly don't have the skills for it. You can't run a bakery with the same people that are, delivering a, mental health program or a child care program or something, right? It's going to be two different skill sets. So if you're going to invest in it, I think you have to really commit to and invest in it and make sure you have a business model, just like you have a business model for any small business that you're going to run. We've looked at opening other businesses in the last few years, thinking like, should we start a second one to do more job training? And we have done feasibility studies on several that I thought were great ideas. And I was like, this is it. This is going to be so amazing. And, my team laughed at me because then in the end, we got to know on all of them because we were like, there is not a business model to support this. Like, we are going to lose so much money on these because it could do training, but we were going to train like 4 people and lose a ton of money and it was not going to work. Like, that was a terrible model.
yeah,
And so you have to be like, is this going to provide enough jobs? How much money is this going to cost us? How long before we break even? What's this going to, all the things. It's so hard for any small business to make it. And then you add an employment component to it, which adds some inefficiencies to your business model. And so you have to be really savvy to be able to do that. It's not just like, oh, the goodwill is going to, like, a people is going to sell so many more things. No, it's not. It is not going to sell more things. They are going, businesses are going to expect the same quality as any for-profit company. And it is going to actually cost you more to run this business because you have higher turnover and, more challenges, more training costs. We have more scrap costs, for example, in our manufacturing facility because we have, more turnover and more challenges that way. So we have greater inefficiency costs in our business. And I have the same quality or better because people might be like, oh, that's a nice mission. That's sweet, but they're not going to pay a lot more for it in today's market. So people have to be aware of all of those things when they want to think about this. It's a great model, and you've got to be smart about it when you want to run it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I can only imagine for yourself. I mean, you're essentially running two businesses, and it's challenging you in more ways than other nonprofit leaders, I would imagine. And kudos to you in managing all this and transitioning to the leadership aspect. How would you describe your approach to leading an organization that serves people in need?
Mm. I think running an organization like this is like running any other organization. You have to have good business practices. Just your mission is to do good, but you still have to have good business practices. Let me put it that way, right? It is still a business. And, you still have to run a good business. And
Yeah.
so
Did you learn
that
on
does
the
not
job,
change.
or where did
Yeah,
you gain
yeah.
that?
I mean, it is, but you still need to learn it. Maybe you learn it in school too. I still learned some of it in school, like, finance and um, there's finance, there's marketing, there's communications, there's all of that
Sure.
governance, there's all of those things that you are managing and you need to know in this work. Um, just human resources, all of that stuff, like to do a good job in this work, you have to run this just like you would a for-profit business.
Mm.
Your mission might be doing good, but that doesn't excuse any, like, you don't get any margin there to be like, well, it's okay. And then if our finances aren't in good order, like, no, actually. And the interesting thing about a nonprofit um, organization is that you actually have like two business models that you're running at the same time. The folks that are paying for the services are not the folks that are getting the benefit from the services, right? You're fundraising and that money is coming from something. In our case, we have contracts, we have foundations that give us grants, we have individuals that make donors. So we have a lot of different groups that we're
Yeah.
having to raise money from.
Yep.
So that's a whole thing unto itself. But their benefit to that is not that they're getting a service from it, right? I mean, hopefully they feel good about it, but that's, maybe they get a tax write-off, but they're not getting like the benefit of it. We're not
Right.
selling them that. On the other hand, the people that give the services that we're providing aren't paying for them because they're experiencing poverty. So we're giving them these services, right? And so, but we need to provide them really great quality services. So we're running a whole other operation over here of providing really great quality services. So you're running two different separate business models at any given time, which is actually, I think, more complex in a lot of ways than
Yeah.
running a for-profit business where you're like, I make a widget, I sell the widget, and they pay us this, and we have like a value proposition that is, here to the customer, right? Like, I
Right.
make them happy, they keep paying us, this is how it works. I got to make a lot of people happy in this model where,
Right.
and it's tricky. And one of the people, I need to pay for this and I got to keep them happy, even though they're not actually getting anything from this, which
Mm.
is like a bizarre situation.
Yeah.
Um, so it's so people like don't realize like you have to manage that. So there's just this art and nuance to it in that way. And that you do have to have really good, solid business principles. It's not like you can, just get away with something because you're a nonprofit. Like, no, you need to have really high standards and the same quality principles of, business that you would anywhere else.
Yeah, nice. What has been one of your biggest challenges in this work, and how did you grow from it?
Oh, oh gosh. There's a lot of challenges in this work. I think there's a lot of things I could say. I think that, one of the big overarching challenges of this work is that you are just dealing with problems that are intractable. Sometimes it feels like, right? And as a leader, you are trying to keep a team motivated when it can feel really disheartening sometimes around that. And you can be doing great work, your team can be doing great work, your organization can be, but it feels like you're chipping away just a little bit at a really big problem. And there's moments when that feels really hard.
Mm,
Um, and so I think that is one of the biggest challenges, right? I mean, poverty is a big problem, or um, we're in a world right now where it feels like everything's kind of on fire. We're here in Chicago where it feels like everything's on fire
yeah,
right now,
yeah,
right? We're navigating safety and concerns about some of the families we serve. And it can feel really hard. And I think for a lot of our stuff, you're trying to help people feel like their work matters. And it feels hard when they see like such a big picture where it feels like, does our work, little bit of work matter in this big picture? And I think you're trying to like acknowledge it, but also keep people motivated on that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges. And that feels really hard in this moment. So right now, I would
mm,
say,
yeah,
um, and it does, and it does matter. And I think people come back to that. But
yeah,
I think that's one of the hardest things for me. I mean, I think I have to feel that as a personal sense. I have
sure.
to come to that. But then I think I also feel that as a leader where I'm like, oh man, you want to be inspiring. And sometimes you're like, I got nothing on this one, right? You're like, yeah.
Mm,
And sometimes you just have to sit with the like, no, this is hard. This
yeah,
is hard. I can't fix it. I can't fix all these things, I can't clear away all the challenges that are ahead of my team on some things. Some things they just have to also acknowledge, all we can do is acknowledge them.
yeah. I mean, from the outside looking in, to me, you and your organization are making a huge impact, and an impact that's going to last generations. And so I'm like, I guess if you guys lose sight a little bit or lose feeling and meaning, what do you rely on, or what do you point to that continues to inspire and motivate you to do the work that you're doing, or to see that you are making an impact?
I think the stories that we get to see every day with our
Mm,
families are
yeah,
what keep people going, right? We get to
yeah,
see, families. I'm sitting in one of our buildings here. The stories we get to see our families, and you get to, be around their energy and the giggles of our little kids that are running around here,
ah,
little toddlers, or
yeah,
the interaction with young moms. And even when it's hard, knowing, and when you see people in real life, that makes a really big difference. And I think that is what keeps people going, right? Is that we
yeah.
know that we're part of people's lives, and that matters.
Nice, nice, beautiful.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what are your hopes for new moms in the broader
Mm.
nonprofit space?
Oh, well, we got to keep doing what we are doing because it really matters. And I do hope that we can grow. That's what we're hoping to do, even though it feels like a hard moment to say that in, where I think the nonprofit community and services like ours, housing and family support services are under attack. I think we are still trying to think strategically about how we can grow, how we can grow our business, bright endeavors, and how we can do more work in that space because we know the need is there, and we have a model that has proven outcomes. And so we want to keep doing that. And we want to train more organizations on the model too, and be part of how they can grow in other communities, right? We want, like I said, it's all about the impact and how we keep doing that. And that is my hope. I think New Moms is Strong has built a really firm foundation, and we will keep doing that. We'll weather through this storm and be able to do that. And so that's really my hope for us. And I feel really proud and grateful for the team that we have here, and know that they'll be able to navigate that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a moment in time, and I know you guys will come out through it as
Hmm.
well. If you could leave the listeners with one piece of advice about making a difference in their community, what would it be?
Just do something. I think we often, as humans, get so overwhelmed by the size and scope of social problems or things that are out there. And so we get paralyzed and we don't do anything then. And you don't have to do everything. You just have to do one thing. And it can be a small little act in your community. It can be like a small little volunteering act. It can be a small little donation act. It can be a small little anything. Pick one issue, one place, one thing. Do that one thing. Dig in on that. You don't have to solve all the problems. Pick one thing you care about, do the one thing, start there. And that is what propels us all forward as communities. It is how you show up as a neighbor in your community. It is how our communities shift and change. If we all did that, the world would change. And we have to get out of this paralysis and move into the like beyond the like horror of this is terrible and I need to do something, and instead be moved to action
Yeah,
and say, I can just do one thing today. I'm going to put one thing on my list to do today.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's good. I appreciate you sharing those thoughts. It's great wisdom. And for me, I'm always surprised. Someone who volunteers quite often and participates, and so I'm surprised at how many people don't do it. And I look at people that are retired and they're bored and they're looking for things to do, and it's like, go volunteer.
Yeah.
And while what I've learned is I'm here helping somebody else and lifting somebody else's life up, actually I feel like I'm the one that's receiving the
Yeah.
most gratitude and how benefits from it and how great it makes me feel.
Hmm. Yeah, you always get more out of it. Like it's all about there's mutuality in all of this, right? And so it is about, you show up for others, but if you show up in that position of posture of humility, that, we are all connected and all part of this. And we're here because we all care about we all want good in our world. And so let's show up and do it. You will receive so much too.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you sharing your journey today, all the thoughts, and very inspiring for sure, and sharing about your organization, New Moms, and in Bright Endeavors. And I know you have a lot of work and what you guys are doing, but you are making a significant impact in the communities, and also, consulting others around other cities. It's amazing to hear this. I was just inspired when we first met, and today learning even more. And it's so amazing. I appreciate that. And for our listeners who want to support, get involved, or learn more, what's the best way to connect with New Moms?
Yeah, so check out our website. It's newmoms.org. And you can also check out Bright Endeavors website, which is brightendeavors.org. Both of those are great places to start, and you can see our social media and things from there too.
Excellent. And we'll share those resources, those sites within the show's summary, and please take a look at those. And so before we sign off, if you could leave one trail marker behind for those hoping to make a difference in their community, what would it be?
Oh, get out there and do your one thing to make your community a better place.
Cheers. Nice. Well, I appreciate you joining us today, Laura. It was a pleasure. Um, Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
And for those listening, thank you for tuning in. And I hope that you've been inspired and you get out there and you take the action on that one thing and make it a great day.